So I think everybody knows, like, we have certain talents and gifts that we are given at birth. And, it's up to us to enhance them or encourage the full genetic potential of those gifts are. And so one of the things that's pretty common in I want to say money making or survival, because let's face it, we all need money.
Absolutely.
Money is a tool. We all need it. Do we need a lot of it? That goes back to your moral compass. Like, what do you actually need? Very little. I mean, some of the most giving, loving, sharing people I've ever met in my life are freaking homeless because they gave up on the system, right? They were like, I don't want to make money. I don't want to have a job. I don't want to be subject to all of this negative things that come with associated with those.
Yeah. Well, we know the system is set up that you have to have money because you have to pay your bills. And perfect example, when I first got introduced to, some Hopi Elders and all, I read this book called The Hopi Survival Kit by Thomas Males. And in the book, they were talking about how the elders, the traditional elders, they live in a place called Hotovia. It's the Four Corners in Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, that area, Hopi reservation. And the traditional elders, they don't use money. I mean, they wake up, they pray, they do their farming, they do whatever they're doing. They're in a reverence state of mind, and they're praying. That's their life. Okay, so they don't have utilities, they don't have running water, they don't have the traditional utilities that Westerners have. So anyway, long story short, the U.S. government, the local municipality said, well, you have to have electricity. They said, we don't want electricity. It goes against our beliefs. Anyway, they forced them to do that just because, even though they said they wouldn't use it, they still was a minimum that they had to pay, So look at that as an example, a group of people who don't even use money were forced by the U.S. government, to have to pay for something they didn't want, they didn't even use. Unfortunately, we all need, as Ocean would call, the greenbacks,
And so what are you willing to trade for those? Right? There's your moral compass right there. It's like, and let me ask you a question, Waska, and I think that this is really going to suss out the next point is, how does stress and pressure affect your moral compass?
Well, more like Moy Freestyle was just saying, like the system basically controls it. It's inherently looked as bad money, but money is just an energy that we use. And then, as we're talking about, as you said, we need it. We need to pay for the basics of life. Most of us anyway. So how does it affect the moral compass? If I like to look at it as energy, and you were saying, how much do we need? At one point, there was a survey done, and this is years ago, across the United States, that $75,000 was like the amount that you could live a really comfortable life. You didn't need more than that. I'm sure it's probably doubled now, just because it's so out of balance how expensive food is, how expensive fuel is, how expensive, getting the food transported to the store. Everything is more expensive now. So I don't know what that number being is, but the purpose of that study was saying, okay, at that time anyway, was 75,000. To have more money than that didn't make your life any better. You could buy more things, and you had more headaches because you had to repair things and you had to sustain, all the stuff that you had. So, that's one aspect to it. I like money because I get stuff with it, and I live a pretty comfortable life. I don't need a lot of stuff. So what was your question again, bro?
What I love about you, brother.
What?
So the question is, and this again is like, well, you have a choice to get more money, but what cost? And so how does stress and pressure, whether it's to get more or to keep up with, affect your moral compass?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
hard one, dude. It's a
it,
fucking hard
it is a hard one. It is a hard one. And I do believe what I'm going to say to be true, because I've told my kids this, and I would never BS them, because obviously I want them to, and did want them and still want them to, have the best and highest experience in life that they could have. So I always said, hey, find something that you really like doing, that you enjoy. So it's not going to feel like work, at least not most of the time. And you'll figure out a way to make money at it. Easier said than done. Okay. Because my oldest son, he's into chemistry, and he makes a good living doing that. But if he had his druthers, he would be, on his skateboard and selling Pokemon cards, which actually he's doing both of those anyway. But that's how he'd be making a living, So it's easier said than done. But I do believe if our intention is good and pure, and not to sound too esoteric, but we're doing something that is of service to others, there's a way to make enough for what we need, which begs the question, like, how much and what do we need, which is what you're asking also, but I think it's mindset. I don't think you have to sell your soul, to make money, depending upon what you're doing, of course. So what are you doing? What are you doing to make money? How do you feel about what you're doing to make money? Do you feel like you have integrity? Do you feel like you're being of service? Do you feel like, this is contributing in any way, shape, or form, or the opposite? Do you feel like you're selling yourself out? Do you feel like you're doing negative, to other people or the environment? So I think that's, those are questions that I like to look at. Like, how do you feel about what you're doing to make your living?
And that's probably the answer I was looking for.
What do you mean, probably the answer? That was the answer you were looking for, man.
Well, there's more to it. There's a bigger
more to it.
Yeah, there's always more to it, right? So, but bottom line is, I mean, and you know this from our work together, was that after that horrible divorce, and I decided to swear off possession, I realized that I wanted to do something that filled my heart and soul, not my pocketbook, right? And you saw the struggles that I went through, and I'm the only reason I'm still here today is because I was blessed by so many gifts along the way. Like,
yeah.
Dude, you've heard the stories. I was $150,000 in credit card debt at 29.99 interest rate. Nobody fucking gets out of that trap.
No.
Nobody. And it wasn't once.